Hey there, this is Joakim with the Systems Alliance, and in this video, we're going to go ahead and go over some good video game news. Epic Games has announced that they're going head-to-head in competition with Steam for their new video game service, and it kind of sounds better than Steam already. So as many of you know, Epic Games has been rolling in the dough ever since Fortnite came out. They were obviously rolling in the dough before, just not as much as they are now. They've obviously had the Unreal Engine, which a ton of games run on, and they've been getting a ton of revenue for. So that's still going on. Not to mention they've had hits like the Gears of War franchise, which is still going strong, and Fortnite, which has just become the biggest video game of all time. At this point, Fortnite is bringing them in something like $200 million a month. So $200 million a month is what they're making on Fortnite, a game that is, by the way, free to download, and where all the microtransactions that you can get are all cosmetic, so you can still be good and have fun at the game and spend nothing. But since so many people have fun with the game, why not support them a little bit? And if it already is the biggest game, even a couple bucks, that ends up being $200 million a month. And with that money, you can already see the support that they give their games. Not just Fortnite, which is constantly having a ton of events, ton of new content. There's endless stuff to do in Fortnite in terms of just new stuff keeps rolling out. But even in a game like Gears of War. Gears of War 4 obviously is the most recent Gears game out. And while we know they're working on Gears 5 and those other Gears games, Gears 5 is the one we really want, but Gears 4 is the only one we have to play, and yet it still has tons of new content, new characters, new events, new things that they're testing out. Obviously, probably going to implement some of those new things that they're testing out or mechanics in Gears 5. But the fact that this game has been out for years and they're still putting new content in it not only shows that, one, they care, but two, how healthy the company is. And I think that's the key here. You don't have to be like EA or Activision to make tons of money. You can still put out good quality games that people buy, and you can still support them. And even if it costs you money to support, you know that that's a good investment because those players will come back for the next installment. That's something that EA doesn't seem to have learned. But Epic Games actually goes even further into helping the fan out, because they've now set aside $100 million that if you yourself, whoever I'm talking to right now, if you want to locally run a Fortnite tournament, they'll give you some of that money. You just go ahead, apply, and then they'll give you some money to host a tournament. Of course, it helps their game grow and get out there, but I mean, come on, who does that? What other game company does that? That is huge. And I know Microsoft, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do it back in the day, hosting all tournaments across all the colleges and stuff, and they gave you the money for that, and you just play games on Xbox, whether it was sports games. I know there was some Halo stuff, but the fact that Epic Games is setting aside $100 million just for that really shows the dedication to not only their games, but appreciation of the fans that they have of their games that are bringing them this $200 million a month from Fortnite alone, never mind what their other games and Unreal Engine brings in. So as I mentioned, the Unreal Engine and the money they get from that, the percentage that they get from the games that use their engine used to be about 12%, which not a very large amount, still pretty small considering your entire game that you make is running on their product, but now they're dropping that down to 5%. So just 5%. That's pretty good. That's pro developer, that's pro gamer. You can get better products from studios that may not have as much money. And once again, it shows their financial strength to be able to do that, but also they're trying to push the community together overall in gaming to a better place than it is right now. They're trying to allow more creativity in doing this, and that's exactly what it's going to allow. As a developer of a game, that's really difficult enough. And making money can be hard for smaller games. And what does it mean if you can get a difference of 7% of your entire budget for your game? Instead of allocating it to Epic for the Unreal Engine, you can then allocate it to maybe additional staff. So that is absolutely huge. I think it's a really great move by Epic Games, but they're not done yet. So as many of you know, Steam pretty much rules the entire marketplace. Valve owns Steam. Valve obviously made some great games in their past, though they kind of haven't done anything recently. And I think one of the reasons is because they're making all the money in the world from Steam. And sometimes when you make all the money in the world, maybe you just don't care anymore. Epic Games seems to care. but Valve, not so much. And while there are other places where you can buy games on marketplaces such as Steam, they're really pretty irrelevant. And there needs to be basically a big boy to go ahead and take them on. And who's the big boy in the room? Well, Epic Games is the big boy in the room right now. They're totally flush with cash, and what's one way to spend it? Well, let's go head to head with their own Epic Games marketplace and go right after Steam and their market. But it's not necessarily enough to just put out a market and match what Steam is doing. You have to really blow them out of the water. And a bunch of publishers themselves have been trying to put out their own systems like Steam because Steam was just charging too much money. And because they're really the only game in town as far as what they do, publishers had no choice but to come up with something on their own. But it takes a lot of money and time and resources on your own end to do something yourself than to just use a service. And Steam was charging upwards of 30% of your entire revenue from the game. They were taking a 30% cut. Normally a middleman might take, maybe your agent takes 5%, maybe you give 10%, but 30%, that's ridiculous. And they've recently scaled back and now it's a tiered system, but still, to not pay 30%, you have to sell a ton of games. And even if you sell a ton, you're still getting a huge cut taken out by Valve and Steam. So Epic Games has to come in and really show them, hey, don't worry about making your own system. Don't worry about that. You can just use us. We'll take a much smaller cut and you can go on and enjoy your money. So the new Epic Games Marketplace is going to only charge you 12%. So instead of 30%, like pretty much every game was on Steam because they're made from smaller publishers, and maybe if you're a big one, you pay 20%, they're only charging you 12%. So maybe for the large guys on Steam, the difference is maybe only 8% because maybe they were selling so much they were only being charged 20% as opposed to the 12% from Epic Games. But that's still a lot of money. 8%? I mean, 8% of millions of dollars is a lot of money. So you would still rather have your game on the Epic Games Marketplace. But not only that, if you're a small guy, you're going from 30% to 12%. That is a massive difference. That is an absolutely huge difference, especially when you have less money to begin with. Everyone has these certain costs that, they aren't tiered towards how much money you make. It's like set costs. You still need to pay your guys the same amount of money or close to it as other guys. You still need to pay rent for your office or wherever you're doing this. You have those set costs. So you have this floor that can only go so low. Whereas the Steam Marketplace favors the already rich and allows them to make even more money. It really kind of screws the little guy. Well, Epic Games is saying, let's just be fair to everybody and just charge less in general. Another bonus that Epic Games is putting out there is that if you use the Unreal Engine to make your game as a developer, well, that's already charging you 5%. If you add 12% on top of that, okay, maybe now you're giving 17% to Epic Games? Wrong. You are only giving 12% to Epic Games if you sell it on their marketplace. Why? Because that 5% that you pay that already goes to Epic Games for their Unreal Engine now credits over to the marketplace, and you're only paying 7% to put your game in the marketplace because you already paid 5%. So it's still 12%. This is huge because it helps smaller developers out so much. Like I said, you have some set costs, you have limited resources as a smaller developer. You're not like the big boys. You don't have all the money in the world. I mean, you want to get every dollar you can out of every sale that you can, and Epic Games is going to allow you to do that if you're a small developer. That's kind of really great if you're them. And who knows, maybe you sell your game for even less on the Epic Games Marketplace than you do on Steam because you can make even more money by charging less because Steam's not taking their big cut anymore. So this is really good, I think, not only for the developer, but for the consumer as well. But wait, Epic Games isn't done yet. They're also putting together a creator affiliate program. So let's say if I'm actually talking positive about a game for once, and I want to put a link in the description below from my YouTube channel, I can actually get a cut if that game sells on the Epic Games Marketplace. And for a YouTuber, that's huge. Steam doesn't have anything like that. There's no reason to promote buying anything from Steam, but now there's a reason to promote buying something that you already like. And may I say, YouTubers generally pretty honest, unless you're watching those, CSGO Lotto guys or, whatever, generally pretty honest about what they like and don't like. And if they don't like it, they're not going to try and support it in general. general, of course. So I think if you really have people who genuinely like your game, they can help support it. So it helps support them, the game, Epic Games Marketplace. It's a win-win-win for all. And yet it's just another feature that they're putting in because they get it. They get the consumer. They get who's watching YouTube. They understand gamers. So this is definitely going to be a game changer. Anyway, I think the thing to take away from all of this is that this is a very good change. Anytime there's competition in the marketplace is good. Anytime there's a monopoly in any one marketplace, it's bad. The consumers win when there's competition, and in this case, game developers win when there's competition, and now you might see more great games that you might have never seen before because there might not have been any way to get this game sold and make the profit they need to with the Steam taking a 30% cut. Well now, especially if they're using the Unreal Engine, they're already getting that basically for free and then just using 12% to put their game out there. Or if you want to look at it, instead of being at 30 and using the Unreal Engine for 5, well now they're using the Unreal Engine for 5% and then only putting it out there in the market for 7%. 23% difference. That's 23% more profit for that small developer. I look forward to seeing where this goes, but let me know your thoughts about this. Will you be downloading this? Will you be purchasing your future games on it? Would you rather support a company like Epic Games over Valve? Let's see where this goes. Leave your comment in the comment section below. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Twitter, and we'll catch you next time.